Welcome to Read and Learn English. Here we tell inspiring stories about great people from history. Not all warriors use swords. Some fight with words, ideas, and truth. One such warrior was Mahatma Gandhi. He was born in a time of injustice, but he did not fight with violence. Instead, he used peace, honesty, and courage to stand against a powerful empire. His journey was not easy. People mocked him, beat him, and put him in prison. But he never gave up. With marches, fasting, and speeches, he shook the British Empire and inspired millions. He showed the world that real strength is in peace, not war. Join us on Read and Learn English to hear the story of Mahatma Gandhi, the man who led India to freedom. Early life, the making of a leader. On October 2nd, 1869, in a small town called Porbandar, India, a baby boy was born into a respected family. His name was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the man the world would later call Mahatma, meaning great soul. As a child, Gandhi was shy and quiet. He was not a born leader, nor was he a brilliant student. But he had something special, a strong sense of right and wrong. His mother taught him about truth, self-discipline, and non-violence, values that would shape his entire life. At the age of 13, Gandhi was married in an arranged marriage, a common custom in India. His wife, Kasturba, was strong-willed and often challenged him. Through their relationship, Gandhi learned patience, compromise, and the importance of understanding others. As he grew older, he was deeply curious about the world. At 19, he made a bold decision. He would travel to London, England, to study law. It was a shocking choice. Many in his community opposed it, fearing he would forget his roots. But Gandhi was determined. In London, he struggled at first. He felt lost, surrounded by an unfamiliar culture. But soon he adapted, learning English manners, studying philosophy, and reading sacred texts from different religions. It was in London that he first questioned his beliefs and started forming his vision of the world. Little did he know, his real journey was about to begin. After completing his studies, he set off for South Africa, where a single moment would change him forever. A young lawyer in South Africa. In 1893, Gandhi arrived in South Africa as a young lawyer. He had no idea that this foreign land would shape him into a revolutionary. One evening, Gandhi boarded a first-class train to Pretoria. He had a valid ticket, but something shocking happened. A white man saw him and complained to the railway officials, saying, "Indians are not allowed in first class." Gandhi refused to leave. He had paid for his seat. He had done nothing wrong. But the train officers did not listen. They threw him off the train at Pietermaritzburg station, leaving him shivering in the cold all night. That night, as he sat alone, humiliated and angry, Gandhi asked himself, should I fight back with violence? Should I return home? Or should I stand up, not with fists, but with truth? This moment changed him. He decided he would never accept injustice again. The next morning, he stayed in South Africa and began to fight against racial discrimination. He organized protests, spoke out against unfair laws, and encouraged Indians to resist oppression peacefully. This was the birth of Satyagraha, the philosophy of nonviolent resistance, the idea that truth and courage are stronger than violence. For 21 years, Gandhi fought for Indian rights in South Africa. He was beaten, jailed, and threatened, but he never responded with hatred. His movement grew, and people began to believe in his message. Then, in 1915, he made a life-changing decision. He would return to India, his homeland, where a much greater battle awaited him. The birth of Satyagraha. The power of nonviolence. When Gandhi returned to India, he saw a country suffering under British rule. Farmers were starving, people were treated as second-class citizens, and the British controlled everything, from laws to land. But Gandhi did not pick up a weapon. He had a different plan. He traveled across India, meeting farmers, workers, and villagers. He listened to their struggles and saw their pain. Instead of speeches, he led by example, dressing like the common people, living simply, and practicing what he preached. Then he took his first major stand. In Champaran, Bihar, poor farmers were being forced to grow indigo, a plant used for dye, instead of food. If they refused, they were punished. Gandhi did something radical. He did not fight with violence. Instead, he encouraged the farmers to peacefully refuse to obey. They stood together, strong and fearless. The British arrested him, thinking this would end the resistance. But they were wrong. Thousands of farmers protested peacefully, demanding his release. The British had no choice but to free him. For the first time, the people of India realized their true power. They did not need weapons. Their unity and courage were stronger than any army. This was just the beginning. Gandhi had awakened a revolution of nonviolence. But the road to freedom would not be easy. Many more battles lay ahead. The non-cooperation movement, the fire of resistance. By the 1920s, India was restless. The British ruled with cruelty and injustice. People were heavily taxed, their voices were silenced, and their freedoms were stripped away. Gandhi knew that violence was not the answer. Instead, he launched a new movement, the non-cooperation movement. His message was simple: stop helping the British. Boycott their goods, quit their schools and jobs, refuse to follow their laws. The idea spread like wildfire. People burned British clothes, stopped buying British products, and refused to work for the government. But the movement took a tragic turn. In 1922, a group of angry protesters set fire to a police station, killing British officers. Gandhi was heartbroken. He had always preached peace, but violence had taken over. Taking full responsibility, he called off the movement. His followers were shocked. Why stop now? But Gandhi was firm. Freedom must come through peace, or it will not last. The British arrested him, and he was sent to prison for 6 years. But even behind bars, his spirit remained unbroken. India had seen its power, and there was no turning back. The Salt March. Breaking chains with salt. After his release, Gandhi saw that British rule had become even harsher. One law, in particular, enraged him: the Salt Law. The British controlled the production and sale of salt, a basic necessity. Indians were forced to buy expensive, heavily taxed salt from the British, even though salt was available freely in nature. Gandhi knew what to do. He would challenge this law, not with weapons, but with a simple act of defiance. On March 12, 1930, Gandhi and 78 followers began a historic journey, the Salt March. They walked 240 miles, 385 kilometers, to the Arabian Sea, gathering thousands of people along the way. After 24 days, they reached the shore. With thousands watching, Gandhi bent down, picked up a handful of salt, and declared freedom from British oppression. This simple act shook the empire. Across India, people made their own salt, defied British laws, and protested peacefully. The British responded with brutality, arresting over 60,000 people, including Gandhi. But the movement had already lit a fire in the hearts of millions. The world took notice. Gandhi was no longer just India's leader. He had become a global symbol of peaceful resistance. The Quit India movement, a final stand for freedom. By 1942, the world was at war. World War II raged across continents, and the British were desperate to keep control over India. Gandhi saw an opportunity. It was time for the final push. He launched the Quit India movement, demanding that the British leave India immediately. His words were powerful. Do or die. We shall either free India or die trying. Protests erupted across the country. People refused to work, students left schools, and businesses shut down. The British responded with full force, arresting Gandhi, imprisoning thousands, and violently suppressing protests. But the movement had one unstoppable force: unity. The people of India stood together stronger than ever. Gandhi, now over 70 years old, spent 2 years in prison. He fasted for weeks, protesting against British cruelty. His health weakened, but his spirit remained unbreakable. The British knew their time was running out. The cost of ruling India was too high. Gandhi's vision of freedom through peace was finally coming true. India's independence, the price of freedom. On August 15, 1947, the world witnessed a miracle. India was finally free. After 200 years of British rule, the tricolor Indian flag rose high, and the nation celebrated victory. But Gandhi did not celebrate. His heart was heavy. India was free, but divided. During the struggle for independence, religious tensions had grown. In the end, India was split into 2 nations, India and Pakistan. Gandhi was devastated. He had fought for unity, but now his people were killing each other. Hindus and Muslims, who had once fought side by side, now saw each other as enemies. He refused to accept this hatred. At the age of 78, he walked through villages, fasting and preaching peace. His message was clear. We fought together for freedom. Let us not destroy it with hate. His effort stopped riots, but his fight for peace had made him many enemies. On January 30th, 1948, as he walked to a prayer meeting, a Hindu extremist who disagreed with his message of unity shot him 3 times in the chest. With his last breath, Gandhi whispered, "Hey Ram," calling out to God. The man who had freed a nation with peace was gone, but his legacy was immortal. The power of ahimsa, Gandhi's greatest weapon. Throughout his life, Gandhi believed in one powerful principle: ahimsa, or nonviolence. To him, nonviolence was not weakness. It was the strongest weapon of all. Anyone could pick up a gun, but true courage was facing hatred without returning it. When the British attacked, he did not fight back. When he was thrown into prison, he did not curse his captors. When people doubted him, he answered with love and patience. Gandhi showed the world that real power lies in self-control, in resisting hate, and in standing for truth without violence. His philosophy influenced great leaders of the future, including Martin Luther King Jr., who fought for civil rights in the U.S., Nelson Mandela, who ended apartheid in South Africa, the Dalai Lama, who continues to spread peace. Gandhi proved that one person, armed only with truth and nonviolence, could shake an empire. The man who lived simply. Gandhi's humble life. Despite being one of the most powerful leaders in history, Gandhi lived like the poorest of the poor. He wore only a simple white dhoti, cloth, which he spun himself. He ate plain food, often just fruits and milk. He walked barefoot, refusing luxury. He rejected wealth and power, even after winning freedom for India. To him, true happiness was not in riches, but in simplicity, service, and truth. One of his most famous quotes was, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." Even when world leaders admired him, he remained a humble servant of the people. His life was a message: true greatness lies in humility. Gandhi's last battle, uniting a divided India. After India gained independence in 1947, Gandhi's greatest fear came true. His people were divided. Hindus and Muslims, who had once fought together for freedom, now fought each other in riots and bloodshed. Gandhi walked from village to village, preaching peace. He fasted for days, refusing food until people stopped killing each other. His fasts became a powerful weapon. People could not bear to see their beloved leader suffer. His efforts saved thousands of lives, but hatred still lurked in the shadows. Many blamed him for favoring Muslims, even though he had always fought for unity and fairness for all. This hatred sealed his fate. The assassination, a martyr for peace. On January 30th, 1948, at the age of 78, Gandhi walked to a prayer meeting in Delhi. He was weak from fasting, but his spirit remained strong. As he greeted his followers with a smile, a Hindu extremist named Nathuram Godse stepped forward. In a flash, 3 gunshots rang out. Gandhi fell to the ground. His last words whispered, "Hey Ram, oh God." The world fell silent. The man who had freed a nation without ever raising a weapon was gone, but his dream of peace would never die. Today, Mahatma Gandhi's message still echoes across the world. His teachings of nonviolence inspire peace movements. His belief in truth and justice guides leaders and activists. His vision of a free, united world is still a goal for humanity. Gandhi once said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." His life was a lesson. One person can change history, not with weapons, but with wisdom, love, and courage. If you were inspired by Gandhi's story, make sure to subscribe to Read and Learn English on YouTube. Join us for more powerful stories of history's greatest figures.